is up, wrestling fans? We are here live for the NI Wrestling post show for the WWE Royal Rumble 2024. Welcome to Nerd Initiative's YouTube channel, and of course, NI Wrestling. I am your host and also the head of NI Wrestling. My name is Rich. Joining me in the co-pilot's chair as he does on Wrestling Night Live and a lot of other things, but you know him as the host of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast, better known as the ODPH. You know him as the host of the Comics Showcase right here on the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel, known as Turn a Page. He is the host there at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday night. And last but certainly not least, he is the editor-in-chief of the Nerd Initiative Comics Division. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Ken M.
Nerd Initiative Nation, the story might be over. Maybe.
We might be into the finals of the story, ladies and gentlemen. We may be there. That's why you can't believe everything you read.
Yeah, interesting night coming out of the WWE headlines. So definitely make sure that you are active in the chat, the super chat. We definitely want to interact with everybody because it is a interesting night of pro wrestling action that just went down at the Royal Rumble.
That is right. Make sure you are hitting up the chat, the super chat, because we want to talk to you about the Royal Rumble. And of course, it's a late night. We all know it's a late night, so we don't want to be here too long, taking up too much of your fine time. But hey, we're happy that you came to join us. And of course, if you're watching on replay, drop some stuff in the comments because we like to hear from you guys as well. So let's dive in like this, Ken. Well, first of all, let's tell everybody about nerdinitiative.com. Of course, go over to nerdinitiative.com, the home of pop culture positivity. They've got all your fandoms there. If they're missing a fandom, make sure you let us know because then we will add that fandom in. Because 2024 is a big year, but there's a lot of stuff there. There's comics, anime, movies, TV, soon to be collectibles. Also, of course, you have wrestling. So you got everything there. Your one-stop shop, nerdinitiative.com. And also, while you're at it, of course, make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell notification for our bell icon, sorry, for notifications. And then last but not least, click that thumbs up to like the video. All right, Ken, let's go ahead and dive right in because people didn't come here to hear me plug Nerd Initiative or to subscribe to the channel. They came to talk about the Royal Rumble. So let's talk about it.
Yep.
The Royal Rumble, of course, just finished literally 15 minutes ago as we're recording. Maybe a little more than 15, but just pretty much short. Of course, it came to us from St. Petersburg, Florida at the Tropicana Field where the Tampa Bay Rays play their games. The announced attendance was 48,044. So almost 50,000 people. Packed house. House was looking hot. They were hot for the action. And let's talk about the opening contest of the evening. Of course, it was one of two Royal Rumble matches, and that, of course, would be the 30-woman over-the-top Royal Rumble match. Winner gets a shot at WrestleMania 40 at the champion of their choosing. And let's start off by saying this match did not make us wait for the surprises, Ken.
No, came right out the gate with them.
Your first entrant, Natalya. But your second entrant, the return of Naomi to World Wrestling Entertainment. The glow is back, Ken. The glow is back.
Amazing moment. Naomi had a huge pop from the crowd. Very emotional scene going on. And this is a perfect way to start off the show, too.
And you know, I love the fact that Natty was in the ring. She's friends with Naomi. We know that. And on top of that, it was nice to have that. She was there to kind of help out that emotional beginning because that can take a lot of people out, especially when you don't know if the crowd's going to pop for you. And then not only did they pop for Naomi, they started chanting, "Welcome back." It made her emotional. You know, like I said, it was nice. And then they settled right in. And man, Naomi was in that ring for a long time.
Yeah, it definitely made a big statement coming back to it. It wasn't, like I said, it never felt like a throwaway moment. And that's something that, you know, with the Rumbles, they have these grand returns. And this one just definitely lived up to the hype with it.
And then a lot of people were talking Forbidden Door possibly at this event, and we got that in the number 5 entrant into the Women's Royal Rumble.
Oh my God.
As your TNA Knockouts champion, Jordynne Grace. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Jordynne Grace was in the Rumble.
Yeah. Amazing moment to see the TNA Knockouts champion make their appearance in. And just like say, anything can happen in the WWE. This was an amazing moment to happen in the Royal Rumble and a really great performance as well.
Jordynne Grace was in the match for a good while, 11 minutes, 32 seconds. She had some great interactions. Of course, she would be eventually eliminated by Bianca Belair, even in a big way, KOD on the apron. So they gave her a big showing there. And I got to throw it out there before we go any further even. After she was done with the event a little while later, about 45 minutes ago, an hour ago-ish, she tweeted out, "Thanks you to WWE for allowing me to be in, but this isn't the last that you've seen of It's TNA."
Yeah, interesting line that they decided to lead with, but you know what? It was a fun moment, and you never know. I mean, this might be a working relationship going forward with WWE and TNA Wrestling. So, if so, who do you want to see make the crossovers here? Which, WWE superstars going to TNA and vice versa.
Absolutely. Well, we had another big return, of course, being at the end at number 30. Liv Morgan returned to World Wrestling Entertainment after her injury and such. Hey, there was quite the. I remember when we got down to like the last 8, I was like, I can make an argument for everybody who was in this match in the last 8.
Oh yeah, you could absolutely have that conversation about that.
But at the end of the day, the number 3 entrant in the Royal Rumble, Bayley, would be your 2024 Women's Royal Rumble winner. She will be going on to WrestleMania to take on the champion of her choosing. Will she choose Rhea Ripley? Will she choose Io Sky? I'm assuming she's going to choose Io Sky, but we'll have plenty of time to speculate on that because I think Damage Control will be falling apart. But overall, when you're thinking about the Women's Rumble, Bayley's win, how did you feel about the Women's Rumble here in 2024, Ken M?
2 words, Jade Cargill. I thought Jade stole the show. Nothing against Bayley getting the win because it was a fantastic ending to the match. But let's talk about it. Jade Cargill just stole the show, made a huge impact. And the moment with her and Nia Jax, I mean, that is what I'm taking away from this match.
Look at that perfect setup and serve. Spiked it right over the neck, Ken. Yeah, 28th entrant into the Rumble, Jade Cargill. By the way, picks up Nia Jax, presses her over, walks her to the rope, and dumps her out.
Yeah.
Man. And then we got the moment that everybody was waiting for. That crowd was hot for. Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill came face to face. We've been talking on this channel a long time that one day that will be the main event of WrestleMania. And tonight, we got to see that the rest of the crowd would like that main event.
Oh, my God, yeah. And they were all excited. Like I say, the energy from the crowd right there at the beginning just really carried through this match. And just Jade was just completely in synergy with them.
Yeah, this was a great match. I thought it was another year. I feel like every year the Women's Rumble impresses me more and more. And this year was no different. And Jade Cargill coming out, big star treatment. Didn't get the win, but setting something up because I wouldn't be surprised if her and Bianca Belair do not meet at WrestleMania after tonight. I think that Becky Lynch, we're telling a story just with her face. Can't believe she got eliminated. Can't believe she lost again. And then Bayley. Now 3 of the 4 horsewomen have won the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it's a definite, huge accomplishment. And really, for everybody that's kind of thinking Bayley was getting forgotten about, this is a prime example that just let the story play out and watch what happens.
Absolutely. I cannot agree with you anymore. Next up, though, surprisingly enough, was the Fatal 4-Way match for your undisputed Universal Championship. Coming into this match as your Universal Champion for, I do believe they said 1,945 days, is what Michael Cole said on the commentary, is the head of the table, the big dog, Roman Reigns. And he's defending the title against the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, L.A. Knight.
Yeah.
And, of course, Randy Orton. This match got 19 minutes and 30 seconds. Ken, it was a sub-20 minutes Roman Reigns match.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know what to think of this.
Also, unusually fast pace for a Roman Reigns match. I think this was a different style match than we've seen from Roman in quite some time. At the end of the day, though, and still your undisputed Universal Champion, the head of the table, Roman Reigns. We're going to be talking about him a little more later. However, I will say this, Ken. Roman Reigns tonight wrestled a different kind of match. Solo did get involved and saved him the match at one point in juncture from Randy Orton after the RKO. But this was probably the cleanest win that Roman's had other than that.
Yeah, this one, I mean, maybe it's because of the time strain. I don't know. This just had a different feel to it. It was more or less the same thing he's been doing, which, I mean, let's face it, him cheating to win. This is what all great heel champions have done. Ric Flair made a whole career of this. So I wasn't so upset about seeing it, but it just kind of felt very lackluster in certain comparisons, but it got the job done.
Oh, I agree. I 110% agree. Well, he's on to WrestleMania. We know that.
Yeah.
Or at least Perth, Australia. Next up, we have the WWE United States Championship match. Your champion and the all-together it guy, Logan Paul. And he was defending that title against a man who had to win a tournament, Ken. Win a tournament to become the number one contender. That would be former two-time United States champion, former Universal champion, Kevin Owens.
Yeah, this one, I mean, had a great story build-up, I think. Logan Paul, love him or hate him, is really embraced the pro wrestling entertainment side of things. And building up the story, you can say this was a throwaway match. It's fair.
I agree.
But I think what they did here was create a little story with it, carrying it forward just for another pay-per-view. I don't see this going to Mania, but I think it did enough that at least they tried doing something different here.
Well, you and I both speculated Mania is going to be L.A. Knight versus Logan Paul. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where we're at. This match did end in a cool way, though. This ended in a disqualification. So, of course, we know Logan Paul is no stranger to using the brass knucks. Mm-hmm. He tried to use the brass knucks, Ken.
Yes,
tried to use the brass knucks. However, they were taken away from him by Kevin Owens, who then used the brass knucks, but did not take him off his hand. And the referee, as they counted 1, 2, all of a sudden went, hey, you can't have those.
Yeah.
And disqualified Kevin Owens. I was all right with this finish.
Yeah, I was too. Like I say, it made sense from it because we all had an idea Logan was going to retain. Mm-hmm. But at least they tried doing something different with it, so I applaud it.
So I'm going to be interested to see where they go because I could definitely see them going maybe a 6-man down there in Perth, Australia for Elimination Chamber, where you have Logan Paul, Grayson Waller, and Austin Theory against maybe Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso.
Could happen.
Or, we could mix it up a little bit different, but I think that I could see something like that happening.
It would make a lot of sense to do. I mean, obviously, they just want to buy a little time until they get to Mania, and then everybody's going to go there. But, it plays out. It did some cool things. But I'm excited to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, we're in an interesting world right now. We're in an interesting world where you could go anywhere. I'm still, like I said, I'm fully anticipating that we are going to get the man himself, LA Knight, taking on Logan Paul for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. I think that's where they're going. Maybe I'm wrong, because, let's be honest, we heard a lot of stuff. We heard a lot of people talking because we're coming into the main event, Ken M.
Yes.
In the main event of the evening, when we heard a lot of people talking, they were talking about who was going to win the 2024 Men's Royal Rumble match. And, of course, coming into this match, we gave them all the credit in the world. They only announced a certain amount of names. Mm-hmm. And that led to a lot of, hey, who's going to be in next? Who's going to go? And at the end of the day, we all boiled it down to the 3 most likely winners.
Yes.
Gunther, CM Punk, or the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. And for storyline purposes. And then you kind of were like, oh, there's extra people, but they did a good enough job to, the whole time, like we talked about on the pre-show, go, hey, we're bringing, it's going to be Cody or CM Punk. Mm-hmm. And then they swerved us at the last minute, giving them credit, and threw a little Gunther notice in there and everything else. So there wasn't as many surprises in this match as there was in the women's. As a matter of fact, there was only one, and that was at the number 4 spot when we got the return to World Wrestling Entertainment of one Andrade. Mm-hmm. That is right. Andrade is back in WWE. I like how he added the gold crown or whatever to the top of the match.
It was an interesting look. I will give him that.
Came out. He looked good in the match. He had a good standing in there. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the longest in the match, but he had a good standing. Coming down there, I mean, we had a Pat McAfee. Of course, we should have said this in the beginning. Pat McAfee was the commentator, and then all of a sudden, Pat McAfee was in the match. Mm-hmm. So we had some of those cool things going on. But for the most part, I think it was paint by the numbers. And when we got down to the final four, to nobody's surprise, CM Punk,
yep,
Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, and Gunther.
Well, I mean, it plays into the storyline we've all been saying. I mean, Drew McIntyre was not really considered in this main event, but it was great to see him there. And it was really cool to see how they were setting up with what the fans were thinking, because all through the build here the past couple of weeks has been all about Cody and CM Punk. Gunther has been a late name added to it, and I think that they really were setting up for a strong finish, even though we didn't have that many big reveals or big returns, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And here's the thing. I was kind of, and I know me and you were talking during the event. We watched the event together. Obviously, we're sitting here in the same room. Mm-hmm. But when we were talking during the event, we were kind of like, getting towards the end there, when there's like the last 8 guys or so, you're like, you could make an argument here. Sami Zayn's in the ring, and you had, Damian Priest in the ring. And you're like, you make an argument for them to swerve us huge here.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like, and so it kind of threw off the scent enough, I think, as a fan. And you could tell from the reaction of some that when we ended up with what we thought we were going to get in the final 2, which was CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, I thought that they did enough work that it wasn't just plain. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get there the plain Jane style, if you will.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of a threat. Gunther looked like he was a big threat.
Mm-hmm.
But no, last 2 men in the ring, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. And I thought they told a beautiful story in that little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
Because CM Punk realized real quick that the fans at Tropicana Field were pretty much 95% behind. And 95% of that crowd was behind Cody Rhodes.
Well, you think about it, though. Punk has just returned to WWE. And we've talked about this at length on 607 TWS and on here. There is a definitive WWE universe.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody, even though he's only been back now for a little over a year and such.
Well, 2 years.
2 years, technically. He's really won the fans over.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for Punk, love him or hate him, he still has to try finding where the fans are going to really accept him or hate him on here. And I think that going against Cody, it was never going to be accepted if Cody wasn't going to win.
And I'm going to put this out to you right now, and I think that this was a good tester. This was a good voice for WWE to go one way or another. And I'm not saying that the decision obviously was already made, but I think this really solidified to World Wrestling Entertainment when we talk about who just won the thing in a second, that they picked the right guy, because it goes, hey, the universe wants this guy.
Yeah.
This is the guy. And we keep talking about this person being the biggest face, like pure face, that we've seen in pro wrestling in quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't already know, and obviously if you're watching this, you do, your winner of the 2024 Men's Royal Rumble, and for the 2nd year in a row, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. So everybody who thought that this story wasn't going to move into WrestleMania, I don't know what to tell you. There's going to be a lot of roads to cross, pun intended, but tell me what you thought about Cody winning, first of all. Then we can speculate a tiny bit, because obviously we'll be having a long time, because this is just the beginning of the road to WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, and shout out to ZB in the chat there, he felt we got an extra match with Rhodes and Punk, and I fully agree too. I thought how they set this up really gave it the big fight feel that it needed. I think Cody winning was the right call, even though I think if they went with CM Punk, it would have made sense too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I think where fans are at, and especially if you went online during the show, everybody after the Roman match was starting to kind of have a little bit of negative feelings.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think fans are at that point where we want to see the story finished as far as Cody getting the belt from Roman. Now, is it going to happen at Mania? Well, you'd have to think so. But I think how it set up Cody, at least now getting in that title picture, you pointed right at Roman at the end of the show. I think at least we're on the road to get there.
That was funny. The commentator's like, who will he choose? And he's pointing at Roman. And Roman, of course, they're showing him in the booth, and I thought it was great camera work. They're showing him in the booth, and Roman is visibly nervous.
Yeah.
Visibly. This is a guy who almost beat him last year at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. He came a Samoan spike out of nowhere away from Cody Rhodes defeating him.
Yeah.
He knows that if he doesn't have help, and if what happened tonight in the 4-way, where, Solo interfered, but then there was more match, and because of it being a 4-way, I think that's how he snuck out with the belt this time. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it was the cleanest finish he's had, but it was a 4-way, right?
Yeah.
I think that he knows in the back of his mind, if for some reason he doesn't have some kind of backup, he could be in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, completely.
So here's what I'm saying. Maybe we've all overlooked the obvious in the room. Maybe we have. But I want to, before I talk about the obvious in the room, I do want to go back. Sorry, I want to rewind and talk about that extra match, like you said, ZB was saying. If that extra match was why I think it was so special. Because Punk did something that very few wrestlers do, and only wrestlers at a certain caliber, and I mean this in the most honest way, is that he, as soon as he felt the crowd turn on him, he went heel. Yeah. He started talking smack. He started getting cocky. He started making, so when he lost the match, when the double turn happened and he got thrown over the ring, out of the ropes, because he turned it around on him at the last minute, it made sense. And of course, you can save it for him being a face. He'd come out on Monday, give Cody the big hug, and say, hey, remember when we said that no hard feelings after? I have no hard feelings. You have no hard feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, think about it. What cost him might have been the line. I'm not losing to the American Dream's son.
Yeah.
Or the American Dream's kid.
He said, I'm not losing to Dusty's kid.
Dusty's kid, that was what it was. Yeah, I knew it was something. Because earlier he said something about the American Dream as well.
Yeah.
He had done some trash talking.
Yeah, because like you touched upon, Punk is so much of a veteran, he can tell the temp in the room. And the great wrestlers can do this and flip the story to match the crowd.
Absolutely.
And that's what he did here. I mean, even we were talking at our watch party here, and Dog was pointing that out too. That all of a sudden, when Punk started doing that, and he took his eye off the prize, he started pointing at the sign. That's when everything started shifting.
So what I'm going to say here, I'm going to be on record at the Royal Rumble now and going forward, is I kind of think I know how WrestleMania is going, and it could be wrong. Once again, we've been wrong before. We just speculate. We're having fun here. But chat, tell me if I might be onto something. We looked over the obvious in the room. Maybe the obvious the whole time is the smart part of business, Ken, was to have Cody versus Roman at Mania finish the story. Maybe Rock Roman isn't happening this year. We teased it, but that doesn't mean it has to happen this year. We kept thinking, oh, it has to happen at Mania. And it is a Mania match. But what if? What if WrestleMania Night 2, which I'll be in attendance for, what if in the main event, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, Undisputed Championship, we get to that point of the match where he needs help. Here comes Solo Sikoa, but here comes The Rock. The Rock cuts off Solo, rock bottom. There's no help. Cody finishes. Boom. He wins the belt. Now you have a champion. Then you have, it's just simple. Next year. We've built him up a year before for Roman. He looks at, for Rock. Rock looks at Roman, says, this is a Mania match. I'm going to give you a full year to prove you're the head of the table. You can either get that belt back, not get that belt back, whatever happens. Next year at WrestleMania, you're champion, not champion, you belong to me.
Perfect.
And now we have a full year build to WrestleMania 41. You have Cody crowned, and you eliminate the interference.
It's what needs to happen.
Because I feel like Jey Uso will take out Jimmy. You know, whether it's in their match or, cut him off that night. And if Solo gets in the way, he's a rock bottom away from not getting in anybody's way.
Yeah.
And it's a big moment. So I think we've been overlooking the obvious. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll swerve us again. Maybe, once again, that's the nice part of saying about the booking. Whether, if you don't like WWE, I get it. Nothing's going to work for you. It's fine. And like what you like. We've always said that. But if you like WWE, the one nice thing is that their storylines have been so fluid, for lack of a better word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can go somewhere and go somewhere else. And like I said, we have a whole lot of speculation to do over the next, 70 days, as we're 70 days away from WrestleMania. Of course, there's a stop in Perth, Australia, for Elimination Chamber, if you will. So I think we're in a good spot. And I mean, there's plenty of time if Seth is going to be healthy to build a Seth CM Punk match, if that's the case.
Yeah.
I think there's a good enough time to, build these other things. I know Bayley's going to be going after either Io Sky or Rhea Ripley. I'm assuming it's going to be Io. I think we all are, but that doesn't mean it is. And Jade Cargill, man, I think the road to WrestleMania is paved in gold for her. I think tonight we found out we've got some players.
Yeah. Oh, I think so. I think for anybody that's wondering how WWE was going to be setting the stage for WrestleMania, this is looking, in theory right now, of what they have set up to be the best WrestleMania of all time.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to go one more bold prediction, because let's throw it out there. We're live. We're live, guy, before we leave. I mean, if anybody wants to drop any more comments or anything, we're going to be wrapping up. Obviously, there's only a 4-match card. Real easy peasy. Anything that happens after, we will talk about on this upcoming weeks. And wow, Wrestling Night Live. I am so tired right now. But, and any kind of other special thing. But here's another bold prediction for everybody at home, because I want to go on record with it. I think at WrestleMania this year, either the TNA Knockouts title or the TNA World title will be defended.
I could see that happening.
Mark my words.
I could fully see that happening.
I think there's a lot more to that Jordan Grace comment after the show. And I think the crowd was really into Jordan Grace in that match. And I wouldn't put it past Jordan Grace versus Bianca Belair even.
I would agree with you on that match, except I think they already set up who Jade is going to be facing,
and that's going to be Bianca.
and
I
that's
get it,
Bianca.
but I'm just saying, but you can plug and play because there was a really nice little jaunt between Ivy Nile and Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's a lot of things. I'm just saying, there's a lot of things.
There's a lot of great parts that they can do here, and that's the beauty of being the wrestling fan, because now we have an idea, but we don't fully know, and that's where we can go speculate and really have those positive conversations, really, and do that fantasy booking that we all love to do.
I know, and even if it doesn't happen, hey, it's fun as fantasy. And after tonight, there was some good stuff. I think if you're going to ask me, because we like to do this at the end of the show anyways, my favorite match of the night was the Women's Rumble match. Mm-hmm. There were some botches in the match early on, but they had excitement. And really, I didn't know, we all thought Bayley was going to win. We said that. But at the end, I didn't know. I mean, I thought Jade might pull it off on her first night in.
I have to agree with you. I think my favorite match of the night was the Women's Royal Rumble match, too. It wasn't perfect, but when I think the Royal Rumble, I think surprises. Jordynne Grace showing up. They acknowledged her as the TNA Knockouts champion. She had an amazing performance. And then the one that stole the show from everybody was Jade Cargill.
Well, I'm going to say this. You had 4 technically major surprises.
Yep.
You had, and you kicked the match off with one with Naomi.
Yeah.
And that was great. And then Jordynne Grace, shortly after. And then, of course, Jade Cargill shortly down the line. And then finally Liv Morgan's return. Because we didn't know that was set in stone either. There was chatter. We didn't know it.
Well, there's a lot of speculation, but until you see it in the ring, I mean, that's the one thing. You never know who is going where and doing what until you actually see them on your screen. And that's what's happening.
And overall, just given the quick grade like we like to do, I thought this was... It's hard because there's parts of the show that I thought were A, parts that were called, so we're going to call it B+. Because there's something missing. There's a missing ingredient, in my opinion, from a couple matches on the show.
Chad, definitely throw your grades in for this year's Royal Rumble. For me, I have to agree. I think it was a B+. What was missing is when you have the women's match that has so much going on with it, and like we talked about, returns, we talked about amazing performances going on. In contrast, the men's only had Andrade, which, I mean, that's not a slight by any stretch of the imagination, but it kind of did not live up to the comparison to the women's match. I thought the women's match was a lot better, except you had the great storytelling to get to the finish. Mm-hmm. And I thought the 2 matches in between were solid, but they weren't anything really to write home about.
Agreed. I can agree with that.
And that's what I think takes it down a letter grade.
Yeah, that was what was missing. But the women's match, phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, women's match was great. I mean, there's a lot of storylines coming out of that. And now, like we say, we're on the official road to WrestleMania. The next show is going to be Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, and I want to throw this out there also. Like, no shot at anything. I think this is a good start to the road to WrestleMania. And if this possibly is the greatest WrestleMania, because we've talked about that being a possibility of all time, mm-hmm. I think they got a good foot out there. Even though it was a B+ and not the greatest Rumble, I just think it was good, and it was a good storytelling. We got a lot of story. Like, literally, out of that women's match, we probably got what Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill will be doing at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Out of that, out of the men's match, we probably got a taste of a couple different feuds coming out as well. Mm. I mean, Braun Breaker looked like a beast when he eliminated Omos all by himself.
Yeah.
So, like, you got Braun Breaker on the horizon. You got a lot of good stuff going on. So I think the road to WrestleMania is very, very good. In good hands this year, at least.
Agreed.
All right, Ken, we are rounding the bases. It is time to take this one home. There's no reason to do top 3 matches because there's only 4. Yeah. And so I just went with our best match. So tell the fine folks how to find yourself in the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast and everything else you're doing around here.
Very simple. We have QR codes. We like to do them here at Nerd Initiative. So click on that QR code. Also above Rich, you have the QR code for nerdinitiative.com. So if you want to find out everything going on with the home of pop culture positivity, boom, right there it is. Go make sure you're checking out all the articles. Make sure you're signing up for all the social media accounts. The YouTube channel, make sure you're doing the homework assignment, which we'll throw up at the end here. And if you, like I say, for anything individually for ODPH, you click on that QR code. We got a lot of content. Very active on the socials this week. Definitely growing the follower count, so love seeing that. And having those great conversations. And definitely have a lot more going into the new week.
All right, let me roll through my stuff. So first and foremost, if you're trying to find myself, 3FN Podcast. So 3FNpodcast.com. All the links are there. Also, check out the 3FN Podcast. We are a movie review podcast that has a little bit of adult humor. It's a lot of fun. So there we go. And then, of course, check out Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. Turn a page. The comic book showcase for Nerd Initiative. Ken M here does a lot of hard work there along with the rest of the team. And I do believe this week we're talking about MegaCon, right?
Yeah, MegaCon Orlando is taking place this week are coming up. So, and there's a lot of stuff going on. Hey, ZB, definitely thank you for swinging by the chat. Love seeing the comments in there. Stop by on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Definitely want to have that
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Before we get cut off. But yeah, this week's tournament page is going to be a special edition because MegaCon Orlando is taking place this coming weekend. Matt and Lauren from Hops Geeks News, who you know from nerdinitiative.com, they're going to be down there. They have a lot of things going on, so we definitely want to showcase what they're up to. And this is the first real big con of 2024. And if you know anything about Nerd Initiative, we like to go make sure our imprint is put on every con we go to. So definitely you'll have some little inside information what's going on.
Absolutely, and of course, also check out the Comics Bullpen has their new comic book day, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We have a little QR code for that. Check out all the new comic books when they come out. These guys are doing a lot of hard work with the reviews, so if you like comic books, it's a great place to stop every week. And of course, there's some awesome stuff up from this past week, including Ghost Machine #1. You're going to want to check that comic book out, and also the reviews for it. Of course, every Thursday night, as Ken mentioned, we do Wrestling Night Live, the flagship wrestling program here on Nerd Initiative. Myself, Ken M, and sometimes a guest join, but this upcoming week we'll be talking about NXT Vengeance Day, which is coming up next Sunday, the fallout from Royal Rumble, and so much more. So you want to join us on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join the chat. We have a lot of fun there talking about pro wrestling. And then, of course, as he mentioned earlier, the home of pop culture, positivity, nerdinitiative.com. And they got all the fandoms there, man, and more to come. So if your fandom's not there, trust me, it's going to be represented. Check out nerdinitiative.com. We're there to talk about everybody's stuff, and it's a good thing. It's good stuff. It's good time. And last but not least, because I'm contractually obligated, no matter what I'm doing, Nerd Initiative merch, go to that QR code and check out some of the merch. There is NI Wrestling and Wrestling Night Live merch there as well, if you want to check that out and help support everything we do around here at Nerd Initiative. With that being said, Ken M, that brings us to the end of the Royal Rumble post show. Until we talk to you again, thank you for tuning in. And if you were watching... If you're watching on the replay, make sure you drop some comments in there. We always like to read them as well. And, of course, make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications. And, of course, last but certainly not least, hit that thumbs up so they know that we want more wrestling here on Nerd Initiative. But for myself and Ken M for the Royal Rumble Post Show, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for giving us your time. Have a wonderful day, evening, or whenever you're joining us. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And most importantly, later, wrestling fans.